Hi! So today I've got something rather interesting for you. This is a Musima lead star Strat copy from the mid-80s. To you this might just look like a slightly beat up old red Strat copy, but there's a lot more to it and I actually think that its history is quite cool. Musima is a musical instruments company founded in 1952 in the German Democratic Republic. Now I noticed while writing for this video that there are probably a lot of you out there who have no idea what I just said, so here's some history. In fact it's quite nice out today, so I think Outdoor Kalen will be taking over the history lesson part of this video. Following the end of World War II, the eastern part of Germany, more specifically these 5 states, were part of the Soviet occupation zone. This separation turned Germany into essentially 2 countries, the Federal Republic of Germany and the GDR, short for German Democratic Republic. This Soviet occupation lasted from 1949 until the GDR's dissolution in 1990. The government of the GDR, often described as a totalitarian Soviet dictatorship, did not want its youngest and most educated citizens to escape to the West, so they built the Berlin Wall in 1961. From that point onwards, those who tried to flee the East were met with guns and landmines. The GDR was also known for its harsh censorship. Freedom of art was heavily restricted, and the government had a special eye on authors, artists, and musicians. Now, a music genre especially well known for its criticism of politics and the government is rock music, and funnily enough, the GDR had a wide variety of rock bands. Of course, largely these bands were all signed to the same record label, the state's own Amiga label. Amiga actually exists to this day, but it's of course no longer part of a communist dictatorship. Lyrics had to be submitted before music was released, concerts were watched by government agencies, and there were no exceptions to this. You weren't exempt from this even if you were somehow, by chance, friends with some high-ranked government official. All this censorship led to artists somehow trying to sneak critical messages past the government. This was done in several ways. Some entertainers intentionally built bits into their art that they knew would be cut out to draw their censors' attention away from their more subtle subliminal messages. And other musicians put more metaphors into their song lyrics than you could possibly figure out with just one listen, and this was all done fairly successfully. After all, the government was quick to send people to bug your entire living space, listen to and write transcripts of all your conversations, surveil you, your wife, and your kids at all hours, and lock you up if they find anything that goes against the state's interest. Tractors. Now, I did try my best to get in touch with some members of a few of the GDR's more notable rock bands. However, none of those old geriatric none of them got back to me, not the musicians themselves, not the band's managers, nobody. I suppose they're all too busy to answer the bag's worth of fan mail I'm sure they receive in their retirement homes. Oh well, back to the studio. Now let's focus on this guitar and its significance. Big guitar brands like Gibson, Fender, and Ibanez weren't too easy to get your hands on in the GDR, so the most prominent guitar manufacturer around was one called Musima. Not the most prestigious instruments of course, but I suppose that suits the GDR lifestyle. And I mean, you can very clearly see that Musima tried their best to exactly copy the guitars that in the West were available in masses. So let's check this thing out. Now one little side note, I've seen these things go in near mint condition for about 500 or 600 euro, with all the original manuals, papers, made in GDR stickers all over it and everything, but I got this rather beat up looking one for 70 euro. Yep. Sadly, it doesn't have any of the made in GDR stickers on it anymore, neither in the electronics cavity nor on the back of the headstock, but I do have the serial number. Its features include a locking nut behind the actual nut like on an old Kayla equipped guitar, a non-floating, non-locking, regular Strat style tremolo, but with fine tuners on it, a rather Fender looking headstock, 3 single coil pickups, a spoke wheel truss rod adjuster, something that surprised me quite a bit as this is a rather old and cheap guitar, and that pretty much concludes the grand tour of this thing. The price I paid for this particular one will make sense once I've shown you its various damages, such as a missing screw in this locking nut, rendering it 30% useless, what appears to be wall paint lathered across the entire guitar body, front, back, and sides, one of the strap pegs having been replaced by a screw, and the rather crunchy sounding electronics. However, despite all this, it is still a fully functioning electric guitar and it actually doesn't sound that bad at all. Also, another thing, of course, after receiving this guitar I made an effort to set it up, clean it, polish it, scrape the 40 years worth of, for lack of a better term, finger cheese off the fretboard and fret wires. Now this is usually not that long of a process, especially not the part where I change these strings. However, this entire process took me a grand total of 59 minutes. Mainly because the only way in which they didn't successfully copy Fender was the restringing mechanism. in which there are these claws in here that fold upwards so as to give you an especially hard time trying to fit these strings in there, because as soon as you pull them through down here, let go of them down here at the bridge to thread them through this locking nut, they would fall out of these claws in the back again, forcing you to pull them back out and repeat the entire process. So really, restringing this guitar is a two-man job. Now, to my surprise, I also received this matching red cable when I bought the guitar on eBay. This leaves me wondering if I'm holding a guitar cable from the 80s, or if this was bought after the fact because the colors matched. Regardless of that, let's plug this thing in and listen to the beautiful sounds of the GDR guitar. Well, that didn't sound all too bad, did it? I actually quite enjoy playing this guitar, and so I have an idea. I'm going to be periodically, step by step, restoring and upgrading this guitar. At some point I might even give it a refinish if I feel like it, and I'll be uploading the process in the form of YouTube Shorts. So if you want to see this old beat up Strat copy slowly live up to its true potential, make sure to subscribe and follow my YouTube Shorts. That pretty much sums up this video. I hope you enjoyed this little piece of guitar history. You can watch my most recent video somewhere up here. You can sub to my channel somewhere down there if you feel like it. I'd greatly appreciate it. All my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok are linked in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. I'll see you next week.